It's actually kind of insane how they continue to sell this American dream that if you work hard and you lift yourself up by your bootstraps, that one day you'll have the house, the nice car in the driveway, the family, you'll become a millionaire, all if you continue to do these things. Eventually, you'll be successful when they know that most people, 9 out of 10 people, will never see those things at all. And that's just the truth. Not only that, they also know that there's much better ways out there for you to make money and get ahead than what they're promoting with this idea of success as putting in more hours, and then eventually you'll get it. You'll get there one day. And what it reminds me of is that there used to be a State Farm commercial. I'm showing my age right now, but there used to be a State Farm commercial where there was this old fisherman, old guy. He had a fisherman outfit on, and he had a fishing line, with $1 at the end of it. And this girl would reach for the dollar, and she would never get it, and he would say, "Oh, you almost had it. Gotta be quicker than that." And I feel like that's what we're living. I feel like we're in a state where the previous older generation, whether the boomers, Generation X, they have the majority of the wealth and the assets, and they're promoting this idea that I did it, you could do it too, knowing that the 1950s, 1960s, and 70s are much different than the time we're living in now. What they were earning and the opportunities that they had before is much different now. And it's not to say that it's impossible. It's just the means of getting those things does not look like what it looked like back then. Yet they're still promoting this American dream that if you put in all these hours, you too will become successful. And that's not the case. And at the same time, the culture has been passed down. We've become addicted to this idea of hustle culture where, like, no, you got to keep going. You got to do one more thing. You can't stop. Grind, 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 grind. That's the only way to get it. And that's far from the truth, because I know a ton of people that work extremely hard, and for some reason they have the least amount of money out of everyone that I know, although they put in the most amount of time at a job where they work. The amount of hours that you put in don't necessarily equate to making more money. It's not true. Yet, that's kind of the idea that they're promoting for the ladder of success. And with the ladder of success, it's like, yes, at one point it was working. At one point, you can step on this ladder, climb it up, and eventually you will reach the goal, whether that is a house, whether that is the new car, whether that is becoming a millionaire. You climb the ladder of success, make it to the top, you're golden. However, what we've learned, at least what I observe now that I've peeked behind the blinds a little bit after gaining a decent amount of success, is that the ladder is still there, but the rungs on the ladder, like especially the bottom portion, are missing. They're not there anymore. So you just don't step up on the ladder anymore and you start climbing. Like, you now have to take a bigger step because those rungs are missing. And some people are short enough they have to jump because they're at a disadvantage. They're not acknowledging the fact that there are other methods of climbing up. There's other ladders around, right? There are other ladders around, especially because everything is not as linear as it was back then, where like there's content creators, there's YouTubers, like influencers, there's this AI and tech. So yeah, you have this ladder over here, but the step stool might be a little bit better. These crates, although a little bit shaky, high risk, high reward is another option. There's just more options besides that ladder that they sold us. And when I realized this, I realized that there are quite a few things that we need to avoid to make sure that you don't fall into the trap of just listening to, yeah, climb the ladder of success. Yeah, lift yourself up by your bootstraps, because that's not the case. That's not going to get you where you want to go as quickly as you want to go. It's going to get you into this rat race. It's going to get you into this hamster wheel by just having the same mentality of, yes, do work, and eventually you'll just look up and you'll have the money in your account, or you'll have all the assets. It's not how it works. Because, and especially nowadays where we have the opportunity, especially my generation and the younger generation, to get into a lot more debt. And we get into debt because the wages, one is people are just buying unnecessary things, like, let's be honest. But a heavy part of it is the school system now. Like, people went to, people went to universities to like push their education, and they have all these student loans. Car notes are more expensive. Homes, oh my gosh, the home prices, and I'm in real estate, are absolutely through the roof, right? So there's a lot more debt attached to this new generation than there was previously. And then there's the unnecessary debt where people buy stuff to make them feel better about not being in a position that they want to be. to just have to work harder to pay off the stuff that they're not using anymore. Just that they bought temporary to make them feel good. Like, what do you actually need, and what do you actually need to take debt on for? Is it a necessity? Is important so that you can reduce your debt, right? So like, we have all of these like streaming packages: Netflix, Hulu, Disney. I guess Hulu is Disney, right? Paramount, Amazon, you name it. And those $10, $15, $19.99, all of that adds up that you're paying every month. And it's just reducing the debt. I know it's cliche, like reduce the debt so that you could just like be in a better position. But what it does is it gives you more clarity when you're not overwhelmed with so much debt. We have to avoid the idea of just taking on so much debt with the credit cards, because these rates are pretty much criminal, right? And you never could get ahead if all your money that you're earning is going towards paying down debt. Like, I remember, I still do actually, because I still have a lot of debt. So I have a credit card where the minimum payment is $250, and I pay $300 a month on it. So I'm thinking, like, I'm paying $50 extra. However, every time I make that payment, there's an interest charge for not paying off the credit card in full. And that interest charge is literally $200. So although I'm paying $300, I'm getting charged $200 in interest, which means I'm really only paying $100. So the balance is only going down $100 per month. And that's with me paying the extra $50 on top of that. And what that does is just keeps you in the cycle of debt. So you're like, yeah, I'm paying my bills on time, but in reality, you're not getting ahead. You're not. And it's important to just try to reduce the debt as much as possible. You need to get some wins. You need to get some wins where it's like, okay, I paid off this one credit card, or I canceled the subscription that I don't use anymore. And even if you cancel something that's $19.99 and you take that $19.99 and you put it on the credit card that you don't use anymore to pay it off, you'll be in a much better position, because you need to reduce the debt to get a clearer mindset of what you can do in the future to earn more money. Like, the things work simultaneously. You'll be earning more while reducing the debt, which brings me to my next point of getting out of the mindset that more hours means more money, because that's not the case. It's not true. Like, there's a limit to how much you can earn based on hours. And if that is the case, right? Because not everyone wants to be an entrepreneur or influencer or creator. You just want some information. There's a way to increase your earning potential, even if you are going to work hourly, because there's people that are, police officers, nurse, live-in home health aides, sanitation workers, teachers, right? And they earn whether it's $50,000 to $80,000, but their increases only go up 3%. 4%, 5% if they're lucky, while everything else in the world is going up 8, 12, 15%. So you never out earn what your expenses are, which means you could do as much overtime you want and you just pay more in taxes, and you don't get there. Like, you never make it, you never get across that mountain of debt. So, but thinking differently now, it's like, all right, how could I use my time better so that, yes, I'm working a 9 to 5 and this is what I'm currently earning, but what can I do differently so that I'm still in the same profession, but I'm earning more money? So let's say you're a teacher and they're paying you, $25 an hour, and it's just not making ends meet. So now, would it be more beneficial to go and do overtime and like summer school for that company? Or if you're going to spend that time anyway, could you start your own tutoring service? And with everything online now and Zoom calls, the barrier to entry might be a lot better, right? So then you can say, okay, I'm going to pay myself $100 per hour. And you'll be surprised that you get it. So even if, which means the equivalent is 3 hours there, 4 hours there with the school at $25 an hour gets you $100 versus the 1 hour you working for yourself gets you $100 per hour. So it's just really thinking differently that more work does not necessarily mean more money. It's just really using your time to become the most efficient that you can be. And because you hear these stories, right? Like, I know I do, where someone works, let's say they work for sanitation, right? And they put in their 30 years. And they do their overtime, and then finally they're at retirement age and they can retire, and then you hear that a year after they retire they pass away, and they don't enjoy it. Like, As soon as you retire, you don't get the benefits of the retirement. One, you're at a completely different age, so you don't spend how you normally spend, and the things you will participate in aren't the same things you will participate in 20, 30 years ago. I don't have proof of this, but I know there's studies that show that people who work putting 40 hours a week for decades, once they stop, their body deteriorates. I know there's a correlation because I hear all the stories all the time. I could probably just Google it and find some case studies that shows why, people that worked in the subway after 30 years suddenly develop lung cancer after they retire. I know there's something there. Especially in my business, there's a lot that I do differently now that I'm well aware of how valuable your time is and how to optimize your time to get, to become most efficient and make the most money. And there's a couple things I do differently now in my business so that I'm not just like working, and you actually have the opportunity to enjoy the money. Because what's the purpose? What's the purpose of literally working 6 days a week, making the money only to pay bills? At what point do you say to yourself, you know what? This is not making any sense. I'm working 6 days out the week, and I've been doing this for 5-10 years, and for some reason I'm not in a better position than I was 5-10 years ago. Let's be honest, it's not you. You'll be gaslit, and that's the whole idea of selling the American dream. They'll gaslight you into thinking, yes, you did your 10 years. Yes, you worked 40 hours a week. You even did overtime, but keep going. You're almost there. And you never get there for some reason. They've conditioned you to think that this is the way. And then by the time you look up, you gave 30 years and you might have a car to show for it, a couple of vacations. And why is 14 weeks? Why is 14 days out the year the normal amount for vacation? Like, you get 2 weeks, a week here and a week there. You might get 4 weeks if you're lucky. And that's the bar. The bar is you get 2 trips a year after working 40 hours a week. No, there's no way. But when they do a good job on selling you that idea, it's a great campaign. It's an amazing campaign to roll out the marketing. It's good because you think that there's no other options. And it's almost why you'll feel that when you look at a creator or you see someone like a streamer nowadays and people in AI and tech and they make all this money, you can't correlate the two. You can't, your brain can't rationalize, there's no way, you have to go to work. There's no way you can make that much money in that short span of time. And the truth is you can. You really can. One of the things I do differently in my business now that helps me, that doesn't really cost me any money, is I create SOPs. And I think SOPs mean standard of procedures, which is just a fancy way to say a manual of how you do something. That's it. And I think this works whether you're an entrepreneur, creator, or even you work in a 9-to-5. Technically, companies that you work for, schools, transportation, most companies have some form of SOPs. They have to have SOPs because when they hire someone new, they need to be able to train them on what it is their job function is. So in my business, for example, I'll give you a perfect example. In the real estate business, when you are dealing with housing, an apartment specifically, if a tenant has a voucher, meaning they get government assistance, that process is pretty long. It can take 6 months, and there's a lot of steps that go into it, right? Working with the inspectors, getting the house passing pre-clearance, screening tenants, who to call, which documents to submit, all of these things. And if you just try to go off memory, you're going to make mistakes. However, if you create a SOP, really just outline, okay, when the tenant comes, this is what I do. These are the documents I need to submit. This is a person I call or email when I need to pass an inspection. What that does, it frees up mind in your space so that you could focus on other things. It allows you to just look at something and say, okay, this is the next step, and make less mistakes. So whenever something changes in the process, you can adjust your SOP, or if something's not going according to plan, you can call it out because you're like, hey, no, this is what's supposed to happen next. And it allows you to become more efficient and do the job in a lot less time. So you'll be able to get through that task in much less time, which means you have more time to do something else. Now, if you choose to put that back into more work hours, that's up to you. But it does free up space physically and mentally for you. The other thing that I do now is that I'm consistently learning. Like whether that's reading books or I'm online, that's like who's offering free courses, right? Like right now, Harvard is offering some free courses, right? And it's free. I'm gonna take it. Well, why not? If you're in a job, regardless of the profession, we tend to just do things the way we know how to do it, and we get accustomed to doing the same thing over and over again, not really trying to innovate or find new ways how to do the thing. We're just like, this is what we do. It's been working for the last 30 years. Why change it? And then someone comes in, right, for that same job or position, and they ask questions, and they're like, why do you do it this way? And you're like, that's how we always did it. And then they'd be like, but wouldn't it be faster if you do it this way? And then you think for a moment, you're like, I've been doing it for 10 years. One, why? I kind of makes sense, but why don't we do it that way? And it's just to look at it from a new lens, right? And always learn about the industry you're in to see what new technology is out, what could you be doing differently, and what ways are there to earn money. And in my profession in real estate, like laws change all the time, or there's new technology that comes out that allows you to, I could search for houses and get information on properties out the state that I couldn't do before. I can contact sellers by text messages now, which before it was door knocking and cold calls. And I don't have to go to the courthouse anymore to get these documents and this information. I can get it online. Me learning about these new things through YouTube University lets me say, oh, I can do all of those tasks in less than an hour. And that's just based on continuously learning about your industry, whatever you're in, whatever industry you're in, to improve, to say, okay, I know everyone does it this way, but if I do it this way, I could get back most of my time. Time is so important because time allows you to go earn more money, or if you don't want to earn more money, just allows you to chill with your partner, pet your dog, watch Netflix. Just the time, because at least if you are going to be working that hard, you deserve to enjoy some type of freedom at the end of the day. And I think one of the last things I do is I look for new opportunities to increase my revenue. So when I first came back from Europe and I needed to get a job, I was doing billing, medical billing, and the paycheck was all right. It wasn't bad, especially for my age. And they offered overtime, so I was doing overtime. But I was thinking to myself, all right, I'm somewhat in the healthcare field already. What else can I do that's not like a complete shift, but will increase my income? And they had these certificates, like coding certificates. It didn't require you to go get a bachelor or master's degree. It required you to take a course and pass a test. Same thing like with x-ray techs. You can, like if you get a job in a hospital and you're doing sanitation or you're cleaning, and then you save up some money, $300, $500 to take this course to become an x-ray tech, you could probably increase your salary from $30,000 to $70,000, right? And then when you're an x-ray tech, you learn about other things you can do now that you're making more money to help you continue to up the ladder. That may not require like post-education, may require just a course. So I'm always seeking out new opportunities that would help me increase my revenue without taking too much of my time. And I guarantee you, I promise you, they are out there. They definitely are out there. Just keep that in mind when you are just like, hustling and grind culture and work. Just keep that in mind that there are additional ways in this climate to make a whole bunch of money without stressing yourself out. You should not, and I don't subscribe to this idea of working just to pay bills. Like, you deserve more than that. So I want more for you too. There's more opportunity out there for you. So go get it, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.